If there is one intellectual from the last decades whose knowledge upholds a profound accuracy close to prophecy, then it must be Julius Evola. One of the most misunderstood and wrongly interpreted writers in history. His works, visions, philosophy, and thoughts contain the keys to divine truth, which would otherwise have been buried deep underneath the hillic layers of this modern age of degeneracy. This position, which is a counterbalance in these cursed times, has shaped his ideology into an unrivaled, yet highly necessary antithetical doctrine, known by his followers as the aristocracy of the soul. For his work serves as a guideline for those of pneumatic descent. In this ever so challenging spiritual battlefield we live in today, that has been outlined in the Vishnu Purana as the age of Kali Yuga. It is for this age of soulless and corrupted darkness that Evola's most remarkable books are like torches, leading the few who are capable to value the essence within his gnosis towards the meaning and necessity of this day and age. In this video, we will cover his three most important works with regard to understanding, interpreting, and surviving Kali Yuga. Revolt Against the Modern World is for many the introductory work which initiates the seeker into the credo of Julius Evola. This tome confronts the reader with the state of decay, which is characteristic in the Kali Yuga age, in all its possible forms, as well as the foundation upon which every civilization throughout history has been built, namely, traditionalism. Every civilization is a direct reflection of its spiritual core. The physical manifestation is the resemblance of its metaphysical essence. It is this very instinctive knowledge that has been lost through the ages, and what has led humanity to this state of decline. The roots with the immortal, intangible dimension has been lost, which is the true nucleus of the tangible, namely, the physical order of things. This is why in history, regality wasn't merely a matter of monetary value, dominion and political power. Unlike today, as a matter of fact, the rulers had their roles because of the supernatural qualities which they'd embodied. Every human being completed his or her part in the hierarchy according to one's spiritual value. Therefore, the concept known as the process of initiation was a fundamental priority, for it is the only way to not only identify, but also to learn how to embody one's truest essence in complete harmony with the Absolute, the higher reality, which is conceptualized as God. There is no distinction between the intangible reality and the tangible, for the tangible was a direct representation of the intangible. The body was a direct representation of the soul, unlike the reality of today, where the world thrives by a collective individuation of the ever-prevailing despondency of the ego. This phenomenon has been reflected through all possible layers of existence, from politics to economy, the food that we eat, the way we view education, science, medical care. To put it simply, every little mechanic in life today has been programmed to serve the ego and eradicate all traces of the in-soul truth of our existence. In this book, that has been seen as his magnum opus, Evola not only goes back in time in an attempt to examine where it went wrong, but lays out in detail every aspect of this modern age, from its distant history until the dawning of our industrial society, and gives a clear understanding of its metaphysical nature. This by examining the prophecies of the Hindu sages that have predicted this age that they've called the Kali Yuga. The cyclical nature of our existence is an interstellar heredity which has been known by all truly spiritual advanced civilizations since their astronomical knowledge extended far beyond our limited understanding of time. For many, the apocalyptic truth with which Revolt confronts the reader is both an acknowledgement as well as a confirmation of their suffering, especially for those very few who belong to the lineage of what the Gnostics interpret as pneumatics. But it would be foolish to think that this modern age of decadence is a means to an end. Its Samalic intoxication, however, is but a symptom of the dynamism of life. The Hindu sages knew that the Kali Yuga, the age of destruction, would function as a transition towards a golden age of spiritual advancement. It is during this transition that the seeds will be sown for this magnificent age to come. This has to be done by these very few aristocrats of the soul who are able to ride the tiger, as the ancient tantrics called it. More videos on this topic will be made in the future. In this book, Julius not only gives further insight into the contrast of the traditional and the modern world, but also maps out the ways one is able to survive this, as well as the possibilities to live up to one's soul's potential. This tome is a clear manual for the traditional man, to guide him in an age of decay and decadence along the ruins of old and outdated forms, to confront this apocalyptic atmosphere with his truest and most authentic potential. Evola has been unjustly labelled as a right-wing intellectual. This because of his critique and expectations of and during the rise of fascism. Just like the Japanese Empire, Evola had the idea that the dawning right-wing ideology of Mussolini and Hitler was the only hope to revive the traditional state. However, during the reign of the Third Reich it became clear to him that this was not at all the case, and that the political regime was instead a further development of the soulless liberal state of the political decline. Men Among the Ruins presents the reader with a clear overview of the structure of our society, whose embodiment of corruption, corporate greed and aimless reign is but the direct reflection of the esoteric warfare, which is its soulification, a state that only would progress in its total self-destruction. Just like the writings of Oswald Spengler and Theodore Kaczynski, this book gives a detailed outline on the decline of Western industrial civilization, where modernization is a phenomenon which manifolds depravity instead of enhancing the evolution of our species, and its political system, which is nothing more than an engine that fuels an inevitable death ride. Its only aim is to turn mankind into passive and soulless tools, whose only future is to keep the machine, which is the corporate industrial complex, alive while programming both the mind and body as a stranger to its very own nature. For it is only the essence of the soul that will remain amidst the ruins of this doomed time and age of moral decay. These dense writings will only speak to a few and make perfectly sense to even less. Those who feel total acknowledgement in his outline of the modern world have been undoubtedly led to his magnificent, prophetic philosophy by their very own agony. But they may never forget nor turn a blind eye to their purpose, even in the heat of the existential nihilism which is prevalent during the age of Kali Yuga. For it are their lifesome works that will pave the way to revive once again the aristocracy of the soul in its most advanced state ever known.